All right, thanks for joining. And can you introduce yourself and talk about the position you're in and the goals you're trying to achieve with the company that you're helping out?
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm Sean Gigremosa. I'm the founder, CEO of Claritive AI. So we're a conversational intelligence platform that helps sales teams, exhibitors that generate insights and grow their companies faster with the leads that they already have.
Got it. So you come in at the point where they already have leads?
Exactly. So that's kind of like our core message.
Uh,
So it's not necessarily the spray and pray, right? So you always get these organizations or these products that say like, okay, well, we're going to give you a thousands of leads and you're going to be able to convert, I don't know, like 5%. And that's good.
right. Yeah.
Because but like our mindset is a little bit different.
Mhm.
Like how can I understand the ones that I already have, the ones that are actually having conversations with, the ones that are already in the process. So I have a higher chance of closing, a higher chance of actually generating revenue from them.
So
So
essentially, the AI platform you have is getting to know the lead, so that way you have an understanding of who you're talking to. So
exactly,
like it helps with the discovery aspect or even the qualification aspect, right? Like, yeah, this is someone who's within what we want to speak, or even if someone we want to speak with, but not only someone we want to speak with, someone who we know how to speak to.
exactly. Or how to move that conversation that I have with that person forward, based out of contextually what they want, what their desires,
Mhm.
what pain they want to solve, and or what outcomes they want to achieve.
And how is it able to do this? Does it use conversations from the past to identify what these areas of opportunity are, or is it something that's able to scan, get an idea of what kind of their persona is, so that way then you could have those discussions that it helps guide you through?
Yeah, it's basically conversations.
Uh,
And I mean, we can kind of like put more like some kind of like supporting data, but right now we're definitely focused on the conversations that they're having. So, for example, you mentioned discovery call, right?
mhm,
To qualify. So you have a discovery call. It's being able to analyze it so that your next call will be better, and then we analyze and aggregate all of that data. So as you have more conversation,
mhm.
you're actually getting richer and richer information and understanding and having a more deeper understanding of each person that you speak to at that organization. Because so, for example, your economic buyer may have different needs and different perspectives, and then your champion would have different needs and different
Mhm.
perspectives. It's being able to kind of like have that data so you know how to speak or what language or what like what buttons to push
Mhm.
for
Interesting.
each person that you talk to.
So it's like a note taker with insight,
A note taker with insight, with deeper insight. So
deeper insight.
where we've yeah, for example, fireflies, for example,
Hmm.
right? So fireflies does a great job of being able to capture and summarize a conversation, maybe even like capture action items.
Hmm.
But like what we do a little bit differently is it's not just about the summary. It's okay. How much is each person actually contributing to these topics? Like what is the sentiment? Like from their tone of voice. Uh, how does this topic relate to previous one that I've had kind of like conversation with this prospect about? Is this something new or is it something that's like yeah they've been building on this for a while? So this is actually what they like what they care about. It's it's not just a siloed summary, but it's the aggregation and synthesis of all of that conversation. So
Oh, wow.
you have the right data to actually again move things forward.
And how do you find in general people are getting these leads? Like, so at what point would you come in and be able to assess how many conversations do you need to start generating actionable data or actionable insights?
We can start from the first conversation because there's always something that's like within that context.
Hmm.
So, for example, we have a like a service for exhibitors and trade shows, right? Like as like you go to all of these conferences and trade shows as an exhibitor, you talk to hundreds of people,
Hmm.
like one after the other,
Yeah.
right? Um, like, and you could be talking to like 5 different attendees from the same company
Hmm.
in different times of the trade show, right?
Yeah.
With different perspectives. So we have a way to capture those conversations, aggregate and synthesize this, and understand kind of like holistically. Let's say you talk to this company at this trade show, these different people from this
Mhm.
company, what they care about, what they're like what they're looking for within that conference, and then put some recommendations on like, hey, these are the outcomes or the outcomes that they want, and here is how we can support those outcomes. um so with the goal then is like as like after the show, instead of getting, hey, we met at the show, just to remind you here, this is who we
Yeah.
are again, and here's our products and services, to, hey, like we met at the show, really loved our conversation. I know, I know you had questions on so and so. Here, here's, like I know I apologize, I wasn't able to answer at that time, but here's the like here's the answer to that question, and I
Yeah.
know this is what you guys were care about. This is how we can support.
Interesting. How do you record the conversations at the trade shows? Because I huge opportunity right there. Like to
Yeah,
capture
so
all
we
that
have
information, personalize it.
no, for sure. So we have kind of like this
Mm.
device that you just basically wear like a lanyard,
Hmm.
um, and and it captures the conversations that you're having at the shows.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And then our like then our the brain
Hmm.
is our platform. So we take those recordings and then just process it into the platform. So the like I was at a show last week and I was just looking at our data. It just tells me, okay, well, these are all the people, all the companies I talked to. These are all the people I talked to.
Hmm.
This is what I discussed with this person about. This is what I discussed with this person about. And again, just having that data is so
Yeah.
beneficial in how I follow up with those companies.
Because essentially through conversations, instead of like, hey, let me get your info and put it on my phone, you're like, hey, what's your email? Just say it. Hey, what's your phone number? Just say it. And boom, it's captured everything.
Exactly.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's fast. That could help so much. Yeah, I see so much benefit in being able to do that, especially at events. That because I don't know how many times I've had conversations, then you look at the business card and you're like, what do we talk about? Or you put like your little
Yeah.
notes on the
No, for
back of
sure.
it.
Exactly. So I was just showing like I have like this let's just say like the last show, right? I have this
Uh,
one business card, and then I'm trying to like for the life of me, I'm trying to remember the conversation with this person.
right,
I
I
mean,
know. And then
uh,
you shoot out that generic email. Hey, great speaking with you. Da, da, da. Let's set up a time for a quick call. And then you get on the quick call, and then you're like, okay, what? You're trying to like act like you remember what you guys talked about, and then finally you
actually,
might get it. Yeah. No,
yeah.
wow, that's super beneficial. That so no, so okay, so it sounds like for you, how are you generating your leads? Is it through mostly event marketing?
For us, it's mostly through. Yeah, to be honest, it's mostly through LinkedIn.
Okay.
So we basically look for at least companies that are exhibiting at these trade shows, and we do
Uh,
outreach and conversations through LinkedIn. And maybe like this is more about a kind of like how do you learn from failure, right?
yeah.
So like as a startup, like we pivoted several times, not necessarily the core product,
Mhm.
but the understanding how we like how our product can be used.
Mhm.
Because when we started, we were like, okay, like a couple of years ago, we were like, oh, like now I can, like now with the advent of kind of like AI, I can create a note taker. You go into the market like like Fireflies, Otter, Phantom,
Yep.
like Minds, you have all of these things, and I was like, okay, well, yes, we can. We do have kind of like deeper analysis in all of these conversations and being able to aggregate and customize. But do I want to? Is that the right kind of like like challenge that we want to take right now? And then so it's learning over time, like learning through failures. And again, just one more. I wouldn't call it a failure, but when
Mhm.
I'm a my background is in product management. My background is in, kind of like building digital products. So
Hmm.
when I first envisioned Claritive, it was like, okay, I want to help product managers
Yeah.
being able to, understand what the customer actually really wants so that we can build better.
Hmm.
That was our core. As we grow, it's like, okay, well, although it's helpful, kind of like the tool set within product management wasn't as straightforward
Hmm.
for us, right? So we've pivoted and changed.
Hmm.
And again, trying to just refine and refine and refine until we got to where we're at now. It doesn't mean that, like our solution can't be used for our original use case. It just
Yeah.
means that this is, our current beachhead and, and who we want to go after at this moment.
Got it. So you're able to capture or you're able to capture voice through calls. You're able to capture it live during interactions, networking events, expos, and everything. You said that you're using LinkedIn. What is your techniques that you found did not work on LinkedIn and ones that have worked?
Um, like the techniques that I found that hasn't worked on LinkedIn, uh, to be honest, is like going straight to value and selling right away.
Mm-hmm.
So like, hey, like I see that you're da 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 da. This is who we are and this is what we do. It's,
Yeah,
it's
everyone
in
overseas is doing that too.
this full-on paragraph.
Hmm.
Like what I've seen that's actually worked on LinkedIn is to do outreach and it's almost like, hey, we're like we're trying to learn.
Hmm.
Like I always say this, like in a lot of my LinkedIn outreach is I'm a I'm a founder for an early stage startup. Like I love this thing about you.
Hmm.
Uh, like would love some insights. Like from your experience, and my goal is to maybe get, like one or two nuggets, and hopefully I can provide the same in return.
Yeah.
More often than not, that like by having that type of engagement, it was more successful. Ever since I started, and actually, just to be totally frank, I learned that from one of the mentors that I had. We were part of this cohort for Founders Institute,
Hmm.
and they were, like that was the, kind of like what they thought.
Yeah.
Um, and I've found that very valuable. Before I used to automate everything
Mhm.
and just go like, just use Dripify and then, like do max engagement on LinkedIn. The problem, and like don't get me wrong, Dripify is great, but the problem with kind of like all of these automation is you lose track of all your conversations because it just kind of like floods your inbox. And there's some, like I've like there's things that I should have been able to catch up that I wasn't able to. And then where we
Mhm.
were at a kind of like initial kind of like journey,
Mhm.
because we are an early stage startup. Like I think like needs not necessarily. I think it needs less automation and more focus by like actually having and doing those conversations manually.
Yeah, biz dev is such a huge thing, and being able to do it, like, we're always trying to figure out how do we automate and personalize so that way we're able to get in front of people, make it seem like it's real, but at the same time we're doing it at scale. Because that's like our big thing is like how do we scale these processes? And some of it's not scalable. Like you can't scale sending someone into a chiropractor's office or going to the actual event and talking to people. Like maybe get a lot of people to do it, but like, that's not necessarily within budget, right? Or have the expertise to have those discussions. So it's like, those one-on-one connections are so important. So it's like finding a combination. Now, are you looking to try and figure out a combination of being able to do that? Like have multiple marketing channels where you're going to have this where is it you right now the only one who's doing the outreach or do you have people helping you out or you plan on
I
bringing
do
on
have
more?
some, like I do have a person that's helping me out, and then that's been very, I want to say, very helpful.
It's a lot of work.
Like it just, yeah, it is a lot of work. It's me work, like again, working with her to make sure that we
Mhm.
are. I think this is why I like having a person actually um, results in better outcomes
Mhm.
than just like, okay, I can scale myself and then I'll just use some AI, because like AI tools, like you need some sort of variability
Mhm.
in your message, and you can't necessarily codify that with some AI tools. And then sometimes I've used some before where like the message was just like, like the person came back to me, it's like, how did you get that I was this, like, like that's not what I, because like like you don't necessarily understand or know how they're getting, or kind of like,
Yeah, going through those trials of getting it to work correctly, the errors that can come from it, because that's a relationship you could, make or break with one of those things, and especially if it's a good one
yeah,
that you don't want to lose. Um, but it,
yeah.
yeah, but so you got your lead, you got someone doing outreach on LinkedIn. Do you have a strategy going forward of like how you're gonna, get what are you doing, demos? Is that how you're engaging with people to get them up to speed?
Exactly. We're doing
Yeah.
demos, and we're attending events and trade shows.
Okay.
Um, in fact, like like at a show, like we were exhibiting, like some of the exhibitors, like, why weren't you, like showing this, or why didn't I know about this before actually
Yeah.
going to the show? So yeah, there's a lot of kind of I think what's important as well is, like they need to be able to see the platform, right? They need to be able to see like, okay, well, how does it actually work?
Hmm.
Because yeah, and in the end, like seeing the data, it's like, okay, yeah, this is useful or this is not useful, right?
Nice.
They can make that decision right away.
Yeah. And have you done like some of the market material around videos of walking them through, hey, this is us at an event and this is, like we're talking to all these people, like there's your pain point. Then it's like the success is being able to go back, look through it, email them something that's relative to the discussion they had that's on topic.
Yeah. Not so much. We haven't done videos, but to be honest, we're still kind of like starting this. We recently just like, I guess, launched this
Hmm.
service this quarter. And because and the reason why we came up with the service is because, like we've exhibited before, and then I was like, okay, well, this is, like all of the tools that's available for, like from all of these organizers are like very basic, right? Like you
Yeah.
have these card scanners or whatever, badge scanners, but still it's the same problem as me just getting a business card and scribbling on notes.
Yeah.
Like, you look at that list and like, okay, who's that again? And you can't really, and to be honest, you can't really just at the show pull up, like my phone and say, type out something, and then, like especially when it gets really busy, and then you have
Yeah.
another person that's waiting.
Yeah. Back to
Yeah, you
back to
have
back.
back
And
to back to back. Yeah,
are you able to go back and listen to the conversations? No, that's cool. That's valid because you could always
yeah.
go back and hear it for yourself, especially for like,
Mhm.
that golden lead you find the one or two out of the whole event where you're like, oh, that's the person. That's the one we need to figure out. Cool. And then how do you see yourself as far as being able to scale? Like you have targets of, is it a subscription based service and you're looking to generate X subscriptions within certain phase period and then get more, get more investor revenue and then continue?
So we have two kind of like models.
Hmm.
So we have a per event model. So like, let's say if you have an exhibitor that says like, hey, I have a trade show that we want to, like we're exhibiting at. So they would just, kind of like purchase the service for that,
Got it. So single event.
a single event. Now we also have a subscription model where like, okay, this, I mean, in the end, like it's, like our platform can be used for more than just trade shows.
Hmm.
Like you can use for sales coaching, like for note taking,
Hmm.
for all of these stuff. So they can go to subscription for other stuff that's included in the platform.
Got it. No, awesome. Well, thank you. Or last question. What AI tools are you using? And maybe what AI tools do you see out there that's coming that we should start thinking about?
Well, I use mine
Yeah.
for my events, but like to
Yeah.
be honest, like so I use like for my calls and for my conversations, I put it into our platform because in the end, like I think the output actually kind of like is refined to what I need it to be.
Hmm.
Um, I do use for example ChatGPT quite
Yep.
often. Because if you're not GPT, Gronk, all of these other tools,
Yeah.
because I mean, you need to be able to understand how to use them
Hmm.
because it's a task multiplier.
Yeah.
Um, you know what I mean? So, like, say, for example, like LinkedIn, right?
Hmm.
Like, oh, I need to write a post on LinkedIn. Like I know what I want to write about, so I could just like, okay, well, I need to write about
Yeah.
da 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 da, and then I put, like I bring it to ChatGPT or Grok or Gemini or whatnot, and then it gives me a post, and then refine it. Of course, I still have to kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like make some,
Get you close, but not
and
all
then
the way there.
exactly. But it helps with like something that may take me hours. Now it just becomes like 15, 20, 30 minutes to
Hmm.
write a post and an article, and then I would go to um, some like image generation tools to create um, a banner.
Hmm.
I've used this tool from photopacks.ai.
Hmm.
They're cool because it creates, like they create, like let's say I send my picture, they create headshots and they can put me in different
Oh yeah.
environments. So like, and then I then use that sometimes for, like the banners. But those are my core, the core tools is, like to be able to generate content,
Yeah.
like visualize. I haven't really delved into video yet, but like as a kind of like as a founder and trying to build, like we sort of have to, okay, well, let me focus on actual
Yeah.
making sure that I need to, like run the business.
Right. Exactly. No, cool. Well, thank you for the time. Thank you for being on. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for having me.
Awesome.